Welcome back, high school hockey fans, for another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett, along with Del Scanlon, also Bill and William Berg, along for the podcast tonight. And Burglar, we got a guest tonight, and somebody I haven't seen in quite a while, but always good to see him.
Well, his name came up last week, so we thought we'd track him down. We have with us Chase Blackmun, formerly of the Hudson Raiders. And I just want to say the last time most of us saw you was about 30 minutes after the awards ceremony at the Alliant Energy Center. And you were still out there on the ice, center ice, on your knees, looking around. Finally, in the way that Trash wrote it up in the story, with just a handful of Coliseum workers and a few media personnel present, Blackmun looked around the rink one last time, and before he rose, he planted a kiss on the face-off circle. Then he stood up and skated off. So a lot of hockey has been played since then. Why don't you give us a little rundown of what you've been up to?
Yeah, thanks for that. That brings back a lot of really good memories. I remember that evening like it was yesterday. It was super special for me and my teammates, and a lot of happy tears and a lot of hours that went into winning the state championship that year. And we still stay in contact, me and that group. And I'll definitely remember that moment, looking around and realizing that a lot of dreams came true. And yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. It was great. But since then, I've kind of been all around. So I played in Janesville shortly after the state tournament in 2017 that you're talking about. I played for Team Wisconsin, made it to the national championship that spring. And then after that, I joined the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders for the 2017-2018 season. I played 1 year as a junior there, and then I went out east to U-Mass Lowell, where I played 3 seasons. I got my undergraduate degree and had a great time there. Learned a bunch from my coaching staff, from my teammates there, and living on the East Coast was a ton of fun. And then this season, I am doing grad school at the University of Notre Dame. So it's been a lot of fun to be back in the Big Ten and playing the Midwest teams. And actually this weekend I head to Wisconsin. So pretty excited to play them and hopefully do well against a team that I once wanted to play for, but now I get to play against. So pretty excited.
You're going to be
so tell me, because I was convinced, or I had a son that convinced me it takes 5 years to get a bachelor's degree in college. Yeah, you managed to do it in 3.
Yeah, so I did a lot of AP classes in high school, so I went into college with almost 30 credits. And then with hockey, we took some classes in the summer while we trained. And then I just accumulated enough credits, so reached 120 and graduated after my 3rd year, and then decided to get my master's degree at the University of Notre Dame, which has been awesome. So I've been learning a ton, and it paid off to graduate quick. So
what would that master's degree be in?
Yeah, so it's Master's of Science in Business Analytics. So it's through the Mendoza School of Business at Notre Dame. It's pretty specific, but it's been a lot of fun.
You're coming to Madison on Saturday, this weekend?
Yeah, we play Thursday, Friday against the Badgers.
Pretty excited about it?
Super excited. I once wanted to play for them, so that's a little bit overlooked. So it's going to be fun to play against them and hopefully make them regret it a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I got to see this young man play at Janesville, and we made a Robertson Cup run that year, if I remember right. Didn't we go to the finals that year?
Yep, made it to the semis, lost to Lone Star, who won it.
Yeah, and this young man here was very, very solid. Not bad for a high school senior who just gets thrown in the mix. I mean, you played pretty solid game, and you and Ian Malcolmson each came up and really contributed to that team.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We got to learn so much from some older guys. We played with quite a few 21-year-olds, which was crazy for us. So we were just 17 years old and playing with some older guys who've played juniors for a few years, and it taught us a lot and got to learn a lot. Played some pretty intense, hard-nosed null hockey, which was a great experience. Really enjoyed my time in Janesville.
Got your first goal this weekend as a Fighting Irish.
Yeah,
see that.
Yeah, it took a little bit. Took a while, so it felt really good. My teammates were super pumped for me. It was awesome. Definitely enjoyed that. Won't forget that for forever.
Now, there's a couple Badgers that came out of the Big Rivers Conference. I believe they were a freshman and a sophomore when you won your state title in 2017. But do you know Zach Erdahl and Sam Stang at all?
Yeah, so I don't know them personally. I've obviously played against them when I was back in high school. I know Sam's older brother, Zach, a lot better. We played on a line in the Coleman Cup together. But I've been seeing their success through Team Wisconsin in high school and try to stay in touch with the high school stuff. So I saw that they were doing well and creating a buzz down in Eau Claire. So it's cool to see them playing for Wisco, and it'll be fun to play them again.
Your alma mater won a state championship last year, the Hudson Raiders, and they're poised to make another run this year. How exciting is that to see the tradition of Hudson hockey carrying on?
Yeah, it's super awesome. So when I was a freshman, it had been since 2004 since they made it to the state tournament even. So it was my goal as a freshman to make it back to the tournament and then see how the chips fall. So then my junior year in 2016, we made it back to state, finished the 12-year drought. We kept losing to Superior, and then obviously now we've had the upper hand the last 5 years. So made it back to the state tournament and then lost in the championship my junior year, and then my senior year we won it. And now it seems like every year that Hudson's winning it. So it's been pretty cool to see kind of a strong, I don't want to say legacy, but a strong team continue to win each and every year, which is awesome.
Well, they are boys. We were there and we saw the numerous youth tournament, youth state championship banners hanging up there. It sounds like, what are they doing over there in Hudson? Because they just seem to keep pumping out the hockey players. You mentioned Superior. You guys are right now. You're kind of poised to be like Superior was back in the 70s and 80s when they just dominated.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just a lot of great coaching. I think Brooks Lockwood definitely kind of rewrote the book for Hudson. So a lot of times, a lot of players would leave in high school and go to Minnesota and Hill Murray, St. Thomas, those private schools. And once Brooks came in, we all started staying. And I think that just led to more success. And now the younger guys see that and are more motivated and stay in Hudson, which is cool. And then I think it just is kind of a snowball effect from there. So there's a lot of good youth coaches. I think Brooks does a lot with the youth now that his kids are getting older, and Davis obviously is making a big impact. So I think there's just a lot of good coaching, a lot of energy with the high school having success that makes the little ones motivated. So it's pretty cool.
That giant sign in the arena of Davis holding up the Stanley Cup probably motivates a lot of kids.
Yeah, 100%. It's awesome. In my senior speech at our banquet, I didn't chirp him for it because obviously it's not really a chirp, but I brought that up and everyone thought it was pretty funny. But it's a massive banner for sure.
Talk about playing for Davis Drewiski and developing you as a defenseman. What did he mean to your development?
Yeah, Davis was great. So he came in my senior year and he ran the D-corps. So it was great to see his perspective on things. We did a lot of skating drills. Skating was something I needed to work on my senior season. So he did a lot of stuff with me that season, before practice, after practice, and then just tidbits on my game and help me be confident in myself, help me work on some of the things I needed to work on, but also help me realize what I was good at and what could help me get to the next level. So to have someone as successful as him give you advice, you listen to it right away. You know he's done it and been successful. So it's been awesome. It was great to have him there, and to have him coaching even more players is great for the city, great for the Hudson Hockey Association.
You look at some of the guys he played for and the knowledge he took in. So you kind of figure, hey, might want to listen to this guy. He's got a Stanley Cup ring and he's played for some pretty significant coaches. 100%.
It's pretty cool for him. He's won every step of the way. He won in high school. He won at the University of Wisconsin, and then he won a Stanley Cup. So it's pretty hard to go against what he says. He's been there. He's been through it from a team aspect, and he's also been through it from an individual aspect. So he's got a lot of wisdom to give, and definitely was all ears when he was there.
Chase, you won our Defensive Player of the Year in your senior year, our WIPH awards, and the following year, Jordan Halverson won it. So a little bit of defenseman development there. Jordan went on to play with the Jets as well, and really had a nice career. I believe now he's up at St. Norbert, if I remember right. But you two were a pretty good 1-2 punch back there.
Yeah, Jordan's Helvy's great. So he kind of came on his sophomore junior year. He grew into his body and became a great player for Hudson. And I definitely stayed in contact with him after I left and rooted him on. And I was super pumped to see him win that award. It's pretty special to be named something like that for ourselves, and also just for Hudson, for our families. A lot of time put in. So I'm happy to see any Hudson guy get an accolade, and playing with Helvy for 2 years was even cooler to see his progression and see him do so well.
And even after you leave, to see him raise a state championship.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's got 2 rings, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the reason your name came up is last week we were talking. We watched Hudson play Wausau West, and Max Giblin was just controlling everything from the blue line the way that you used to back at Hudson. That's how your name came up, and somebody said you're now at Notre Dame, and we kind of did a little digging and found out about the whole 3-year thing. But you can correct me if I've got my facts mixed up here. But you weren't always like a lot of these kids, from like Pee Wee on up. They're like selects, Team Wisconsin, U14, all that stuff. You weren't like singled out early on. You had to kind of work your way up into that.
Yeah, for sure. So, my first year, squirt's really far back. My first year squirt, first year Pee Wee, I made the B team. And then my second year made the A team. And then my first year Bantam, I made the A team, but I still was definitely not where I needed to be. I started off a little bit on the JV team my freshman year, had to kind of prove myself. And even when I was on varsity, I wasn't playing too many minutes until closer to the end of the year. I've gotten cut from teams. My first year of U16 Team Wisconsin, I got cut from that team and played on the U15 team. And that's kind of part of the journey, right? There's a lot of players out there that aren't the best players right from when they're born and have to work for it. And that was me. So I had to put a lot of time in the gym, a lot of extra hours on my backyard rink that my dad built, a lot of extra time with Davis my senior year. And it kind of makes the rewards a little bit sweeter just to know all the time I've put in, and it's all been worth it. And it's been very rewarding.
Sounds like a lot of kids could really look up to you for what you had to go through, playing on B teams, making A teams, getting cut from Team Wisconsin, and just having to put the work in to realize that even though you've had success, it doesn't come easy.
Yeah, 100%. It's not easy, but like I said, that's part of the fun. So you get cut from a team and you get that gut punch. You go home, you either cry or you get pissed or you're asking why, and then you can decide to put the work in and kind of change your path, or you can decide to kind of give up. So for me, I decided to put the work in, and I think there's a lot of kids out there doing that, which is awesome.
So you're gonna have a lot of friends and family at the games this weekend, or?
Yeah, so I had some family come this past weekend at Notre Dame, and Madison's technically not that close to Hudson. It's 4 hours, so I'll have some people there, but since we play on a Thursday, that kind of screws up some of the stuff. But I have a couple former teammates coming from Hudson. They'll be at the game, and it'd be cool to play in front of them. And
I suppose the rest of them went and saw you when you played in Minnesota.
Yeah,
like
I had a bunch of
that's like right there.
Yeah, so Minnesota was a lot of people, which was awesome, but almost stressful with how many people there were that I knew. But it was fun.
Excited to hear about you. Go ahead, Junior.
Did you gain an extra year of eligibility due to the COVID year last year, or is this your final year?
Yeah, so I do technically have one more year. We'll kind of see what happens. So it's kind of hard to say right now. I'm already going to have my master's degree, so I could get a second master's degree, or
a bachelor's and a master's in 4 years. Yeah. Sluggo over there took 5 years just to get a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Chase, honestly, I got to ask you, any pro scouts been kicking the tires with you?
It's more done behind the scenes. So during the year, I don't focus about that at all. That's more the off season, and once our season's over, I'll look to see what I can do, and if pro's an option, whether it's in North America or Europe, I'll see if that's what I want to do. So I'll have a master's from Notre Dame, which will set me up great for work and to have a successful career in that sense. So kind of have to weigh the options and see what's best for me when the time comes.
I always thought you could go pretty far as a defenseman. I loved your game and the way you played, and I'm just really, really excited about your future. If you go on to play hockey, I think you'll go far. But there's a lot of things that go into it. I get that. Yeah,
thanks. Appreciate that.
So you guys have 3 series left. You've got Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Michigan, and then the Big Ten tournament. I know like some of the high school players around the state like to look at the high school rankings and chirp at each other and stuff like that. But, in college, are you guys looking at the fact that like you're 11th in the poll right now and 12th in the pairwise? Is that something that, as players you're aware of, or are you just focusing on that next weekend's game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both, right? There's obviously we see the rankings. It's hard not to if you're on social media. So we see, our main concern is pairwise. That's the biggest one for us because that determines if you're going to make the NCAA tournament. So we look at that, but it's nothing we think about too much. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to win your games. You got to win as many games as you can, and it doesn't really matter if you're looking at it or not. You just have to accumulate wins, keep winning, and then you'll make the tournament. You'll win your conference potentially. You'll have a run at the conference tournament. So we do look at it, but it's not something we obsess about by any means. I'd be lying if I said we didn't look at it. So
I mean, yeah, you win your games and the pairwise kind of takes care of itself at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So you try to beat the top teams, and you definitely try to not lose to the teams that are ranked below you, because that can have a big impact, both of those. But like I said, you just doesn't really matter what you look at. You just try to win your games.
You had a couple other guys from Wisconsin on your team. Had you known them at all before? The guys from Mequon?
So Spencer Stasny's from Mequon, right outside of Milwaukee. I didn't know Spencer at all. He played for the Mission growing up, Chicago Mission, and he's an age below me. And then Brady Bjork also is from Mequon. He's actually one of my best buddies. So we played U14 Team Wisconsin together, and then U18 Team Wisconsin. He's a great dude, a very infectious personality, and we were boys on Team Wisconsin, and now it's been cool to be back with him. So we talk about a lot of the Wisconsin stuff and how much fun we had for Team Wisconsin, but it's been great to be back here with him and have one of my closest buddies I grew up with, playing college with. So I didn't have any of that at Lowell, so it's been cool to have a friend from back in the day here.
Yeah, and he's got his older brother playing for the Buffalo Sabres, previously the Boston Bruins, so that's pretty cool.
Very cool, yeah.
Chase, when you look at your last 3 series going into the end of the regular season, you see Michigan, and everybody talks about Michigan having all the draft pick guys and all that talent. And I watched them, and they're phenomenal moving the puck, even with some of the guys not even in the lineup. How exciting is it to see? Is it for you to have that chance to go up against some very, very high end talent coming up at the end of the season?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's something that is very cool to see. You're playing against some of the top overall picks in the NHL drafts, but honestly, once the puck drops, you're just playing hockey. So obviously you identify that these guys are great players, and you don't want to give them any extra chances or anything. But at the end of the day, it's just our team versus their team, and who's going to win. So it's obviously cool kind of looking back. I'll probably think it's cooler 10 years down the line when I'm telling my kids I played against this guy who's in the NHL. But right now it's just kind of, I'm playing hockey just like them, and I'm trying to win. So
that's pretty exciting stuff to see the number 1 draft pick over on the other side of the ice, and what's going to happen to him, and to have that chance to play against those guys and should be a lot of fun for you. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, trying to think of anything else I had to ask you. Been a while since I'd seen you.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah. You still talk to Ian Malcolmson at all?
Oh yeah, we actually went up and played Northern Michigan this year, so we saw him. He was hurt at the time, so he didn't play. But me and Brady stopped by and talked to him for a few, and it's great to see the Wisconsin guys having success at the college level. In Wisconsin, we're kind of always looked down upon compared to our Minnesota rivals, and like even Chicago players play the tier 1 all year. So to see so many Wisconsin guys excelling is very, very cool.
Broke his foot, didn't he? Didn't he have foot surgery?
Yep.
If I remember correctly, he's back now, but missing some of his season. That's really unfortunate. Guys, got anything else for him?
No, thanks for taking the time out of your obviously busy schedule. Hope we didn't set you back in your studies at all, but thanks for filling us in. I'm sure we had a lot of people can be listening to this tomorrow and we post it, and thank you for joining us and good luck.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Appreciate everything you guys have done. You guys have done a great job with the website and the podcast. I remember listening back in the day and always wanting you guys to talk about Hudson. Never gave us the benefit of the doubt at that time, but now that we're winning championships, you guys can't stop talking about us.
Well, that's kind of hard right now because they're the number 1 team in the state, and they've been pretty much unanimous all season long.
Yeah, they've had the number 1 ranking for about 5 straight years now. So,
yeah.
Chase, I'm going to do my darndest to come up and catch you in Madison on Friday night. I don't know if all the planets are going to align, but I really want to come see you play in person. So, good luck to you in Madison. I know it means a lot to you, and you're going to have family there, and want to put it to the school that passed on you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. It's going to be a memorable series for sure.
Yeah, I hope Wisconsin doesn't score when you're on the ice.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys. Chase Blackman's been our guest. Chase, take care of yourself, all right?
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good
Okay,
one.
thank you. Chase Blackmun joined us tonight here on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. If you guys don't mind, I'll stick with you on this. I've got an ugly cold, but you know what? I've enjoyed talking hockey. It's always good to see Chase Blackmun. He was one of my favorite players who's coming through Janesville.
Yeah, he lifts your spirit. Lifts your spirits, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yep. He's doing quite well. Let's go on to our games of the week, guys. Burglar and Bill Jr. got to see the Badger Conference tournament. Go ahead and give us a lowdown on what you did see.
Sure. I didn't point out to Chase that Max Giblin is 2 inches taller than he is.
Is Max Giblin a defenseman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max Giblin won the Davis Trubisky last year as a junior, so he's kind of the front runner this year again.
Okay.
So yes, we headed over to Grand Chute, to the, what is it called? The Community First Champions Center there in Grand Chute, to check out the 4th round of the Badgerland Conference tournament. The first 2 games happened simultaneously in the morning, 1 on each rink. Then there was a little break, and then they did the 3rd place game and the championship game. I caught the 7th place game to start the day. Not going to talk about it too much, but Waupun came away with an 8-0 win in that one over Shawano. As you know, Shawano's had a pretty rough season in their first year back. I think they're 0-18 now. But despite that, you got to say that they're playing like the right way. They're not getting chippy at the end of the games. They're not taking a bunch of stupid penalties. Even the Waupun coaches called it out. Shawano's doing a really good job this year, their first year back in the program. And Waupun came into that game with a little bit of the chip on their shoulder. They weren't happy with how they played on Friday against, I believe it was Fox Cities. They lost that game 3-0. They were not happy with how they played, so they came out hot. Took it to Shawano, took that one 8-0. And while I was watching that one, Burglar was on the other rink watching Fox Cities in Oshkosh.
And I think that was most exciting game of the day. It was a back and forth affair between Fox Cities and Oshkosh. Oshkosh had two freshmen playing key roles on their team. One of them was their goaltender. Apparently they lost their goaltender midway through the season, and their JV goalie had to step up and play varsity, and had a rough start, but he's been playing very well the last few games, and he played very well in this game. And they also had another freshman forward named Amari Fisher, and you're gonna hear that name again, and often. He's good. He didn't score in this game, but he did just about everything else you could ask a kid to do with the puck on the ice. And although it was a back and forth affair, I think Oshkosh played Fox Cities a little bit, but they ended up tied. Fox Cities, or they did a 3. It was kind of like the tournament before, the Fox River Classic tournament, where they had not amended their conference bylaws to account for the new overtime procedure for WIA. So they did the 8-minute 5-on-5 overtime, and then went right to a shootout. 3-man shootout. Each team scored twice. Went to a sudden death shootout. And the one part I liked the best on that was the first guy from Fox City scored in the sudden death shootout, and the guy who was going to go for Oshkosh, number 7, I could look at. I don't have his name here. I mean, he skated over to the goalie, and you could just see. He said, "Don't worry about it, I got it." And he went down and scored on the other end. So it went quite a while before they finally did get Fox Cities did end up winning in a sudden death shootout, but it was a great game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, you glossed over like the best part is that Oshkosh tied it up with like 30 seconds left to send it into overtime in the first place. And they tied it up because they were on a power play, because when Fox Cities took the lead with about a minute and a half left, somebody on their team said something to the Oshkosh bench and got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
A little bit of taunting, perhaps.
Yeah, Oshkosh got a little power play there, tied it up, and that's what put it in the shootout. The following in the third place game was Fond du Lac. They were disappointed to be playing in the third place game after finishing the regular season Badgerland 6-1, tied with Neenah at 6-1 and Springs at 6-1. Another team, they were unhappy with their performance the previous night against Springs. They lost 5-0. A team they had, they felt they should have done better against. First period, they controlled like the first 9 minutes of the first period, but it was Appleton United who got on the board first. It was just a scrum in front of the net. You could barely even see what happened, but someone on United knocked it in. And then Fond du Lac's captain, Brett Sable, right at the end of the first period, made just a beautiful goal down the ice, just like 20 seconds left in the period, drew the defenseman wide and then cut hard in towards the net, and going across the goal mouth, he just reached around the goalie and put the puck in to tie it up. And then Fond du Lac, still, I mean, they were not happy with how they were playing, and whatever the coaches said between periods worked, because they exploded for 5 goals in the second period. By the end of the second period, it was running time. Sable added another goal with basically the same move to finish their scoring in the third period, only this time the defenseman pulled him down while he was making that power move to the front of the net, and from his knees he still managed to get around the goalie and put the puck in. Shows why he's first team forward on the Badgerland all conference team. That was Fond du Lac beating Appleton United in the third place game, and then we got to the championship game, which is the one that, like everybody else around the state wanted to see, which was number 6 Neenah Hortonville Menasha taking on D2 number 1 Fondy Springs. Burglar, you want to take that one? You're on mute.
There we go.
I was hoping we'd be able to go the whole time without saying that, but yeah, I got one thing to say about that game. Talon Blank. He kind of controlled that game. He's a sophomore. You've been around long enough, you would know Connor Blank, who was a cousin, played for for Fond du Lac Springs. He's got an older brother on the team who's a senior now, but Talon Blank, what did he end up with in that game? He ended up with
3 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, that. And the big thing about this game, these two teams had played just a week earlier, and Neenah had won that game 7-5. The difference between the two games was in that 7-5 win, Neenah Hortonville Menasha was 4 for 7 on the power play. Their power play is really good. And this time, Fond du Lac Springs only took 3 penalties. They learned, don't give them power plays. So with only 3 opportunities, they managed to kill them all. And that was really the difference. The last time they played, it was 4 power play goals for Neenah. This time it was none because Springs stayed out of the box.
Yeah,
and
Neenah's at
Talon Blank.
Neenah's at 47% on the power play this year, which is just insane. And it's not like they're racking those up against the lesser parts of their schedule. In their win earlier in the season against Notre Dame Academy, that's another one where they were 4 for 7. In there, I think it was a 3-2 overtime loss to Oakland Memorial. I believe they had 2 power play goals in that one. Like that's like how their offense is against the good teams they play, is they just dominate on the power play, but they weren't able to do it. And in this one, it looked like every time Neenah put together like a couple really strong shifts where they were actually like taking it to Springs and looked like, they might be coming away with something, they took a penalty. And this time when they took penalties, Springs didn't let them get away with it. Springs was scoring on the power play. 2 power play goals and a shorthanded goal for Springs. The shorthanded goal, I believe, is Talon Blank literally deked a Neenah defenseman out of his skates. It's just brutal, like right at the blue line, then came in all alone on the goalie to get the shorthanded goal. It was like my ankles hurt just watching it. So that was a great one. What stuck out to me, that was my first time seeing Springs this year. Obviously, we've seen them several times over the last couple of years. They're still fast. I was surprised Neenah didn't use their size advantage and try to knock them around a little, but they really didn't. It wasn't a very physical game. Springs is a one-line team this year when it comes to scoring. They don't have the depth that they did the last 2 years. In those 2 games against Neenah, this one they won 6-2 with the empty netter, and the last one they lost 7-5. Of those 11 goals, their first line had a point on 10 of them. Their first line, like nobody other than their first line has more than 5 goals on the season. So that's the difference between this Springs team and the Springs teams we saw the last 2 years. The last 2 years, obviously their first line was great, but their second and third lines were also, very good at scoring goals. Now their first line is really where their goals have to come from. And those second and third lines, they're putting pressure on the puck, but you don't have to worry about them so much from a goal perspective.
And the other thing I want to bring up is the Community First Champion Center. That's the first time I've been in there. And that is one dandy of a facility. They've got 2 rinks in there. One of them is, their main rink. That one is, I think, is ice year round. The other one, their seasonal rink. They take the ice out and they use that section of the building for other stuff. And then they have a field house attached to it that had basketball and or volleyball courts. Could be used for either. How big? 2 full-size basketball courts, or
the field house had four basketball courts, or 8 volleyball courts. The seasonal one was 3 basketball courts or 6 volleyball courts. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that building.
And that the building we asked tracked down Mike Elkin, the former Nina coach, who's still their activities director. And he said the city of Grand Chute actually built that and owns it. They did a study and they found that a good way to bring people to your town is to have sports facilities for them, because people like their sports. And it's actually the city of Grand Chute that built that fantastic baseball facility where the Timber Rattlers play and they host the high school baseball state tournament. Grand Chute built that and owned it just to bring people in. So a forward-thinking community.
If you build it, they will come.
That's it.
It's funny you guys say this because that's exactly what we're going through here in Janesville. The facility you're talking about sounds exactly like what we're trying to get established here. A regular sheet of ice, a facility you can have a seasonal rink, and then like a field house where you can have a trade shows, basketball tournaments, whatever the case may be. And it's the same thing that people need to realize. Sports come to town, they bring business, and they're trying to sell that here in Janesville. And Bill McCoshen, who we all know is part of the group spearheading it. And listen to what you guys said about Grand Chute. That's exactly the same situation we have down here in Janesville, needing to replace our rink. It's pretty old.
Well, the only downside, the only negative I have about the Community First Champions Center is the same thing I say about Green Heck Fieldhouse. In that first game of the day, Waupun against Shawano, it wasn't as noticeable because the crowd was small and it wasn't very loud, so you could hear like what the announcer was saying. But the acoustics in there are very echoey. I had real trouble hearing what they were saying, just like at Green Heck.
Metal roof, concrete walls.
Yeah, metal roof, concrete wall, like the old school rinks where you see, the big puffy insulation on the roof. That might not be pretty, but it is amazing for acoustics. It kills off all that echo real quick. So that's the only thing, if Grand Chute's looking to improve the facility at all, they need a lot more sound tiles on the walls going all the way around the place. But otherwise, the place was really nice.
Still had that new rink smell.
I love it. Eastern Shores Conference Championship game. Dell, you were there, Bay Area against Fox Cities.
Yeah, I actually got there, caught the very tail end of the game before, which was the Warbirds against the Lakeshore Lightning. And that game was 1-0 going into with 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the third period. And the Warbirds ended up scoring 3 goals in that third period to win that game 4-0. And then that led to the championship game for the Eastern Shores tournament. And that featured the Fox City Stars against the Bay Area Ice Bears in their third meeting of the season. The game was a really good game. The one thing that was a little unusual to me was first period, there were 2 penalties called, second period, 4 penalties called, and the third period, 8 penalties called. Doubled them up every period.
See that.
The Ice Bears
exponential penalty growth.
The Ice Bears actually scored halfway through the first period on a power play goal, and Stacy Clout got the goal, assisted by the Bradford sisters. And then at the end of the first period, it was 2-0. Ice Bears, Fox City scores a power play goal almost halfway through the second, and Ice Bears come back and make it 3-1 at the end of 2. And then I thought that Ice Bears kind of put it away when Jordan Brady scored a goal a little under 4 minutes into the third period to put the Ice Bears up 4-1. But Fox Cities came back, got it down to a 4-3 game. And then the Ice Bears were able to put it away with a power play goal with just under 7 minutes remaining in regulation in that one. There was one major penalty called in the second period for boarding, and the Fox City Stars managed to kill off that penalty with the assistance of a couple of penalties being called against the Ice Bears to make it 4-on-4 hockey, a lot of that 5-minute major. But overall, it was a very good game, 5-3 for a final. And the Eastern Shores tournament, the way it played out is pretty much how their sectional players got seeded then. So that's how the girls' game of the week went this week.
A boarding major in a girls' hockey game.
Wow.
My niece got one of those once.
Yeah, I would say reminds me of Wisconsin Prep Hockey's favorite hockey official.
Nikki?
Well,
Does Nikki actually have that kind of stuff
He's
in
told
her game?
He's told the story on the podcast before, but a player on a team they were playing against was just playing around with the puck, skating around the zone, and being, really, really annoying. And Nikki got tired of it.
Well, Caitlin, when she played for Rainy River Community College up there in International Falls, Minnesota, one of the girls from the Duluth club team they were playing against, I had done something, and Caitlin come off the bench and just made a beeline to her as she was coming behind the net, put her into the boards. Before the referee was done blowing the whistle, she was already headed to the penalty box.
She knew what was coming. All right, Del, thanks for that report on the Eastern Shores Conference Championship game, our girls' game of the week. Burglar, our Madison players of the week are up. And I know we talked quite a bit about Talon Blank tonight, and I got a feeling we're going to talk about him a little bit more.
I think we will, MJ, for his performance in the Badgerland Conference Tournament. Tanner Blank, a sophomore forward for St. Mary Springs, is our Madison player of the week on the boys' side. On Tuesday, he kind of didn't get on the scoreboard at all in their 2-1 win over Waupun. On Friday, he had 2 goals in their 5-0 win over Fond du Lac. And then on Saturday, he saved his best for Saturday to dominate the game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in their 6-2 win over Nina Hortonville Menasha for the championship. So Talon Blank of St. Mary Springs is our Madison boys player of the week. On the girls' side, we have Keegan Sanderfoot, a forward from the Cap City Cougars. On Tuesday, in overtime, she had the game-winning goal in a 2-1 win over the Badger Lightning. And then just for good measure, on Friday, she did the same thing. Game-winning goal in overtime in a 2-1 win over Viroqua. So for being clutch, as they say, Keegan Sanderfoot, our girls player of the week.
You say, Talon Blank didn't have any points in that 2-1 win over Waupun. Tyler Frummels, Badgerland Conference Player of the Year, and he's gotten our Player of the Week at least once this year. Well, once this year, we don't give it out more than once. He had 46 saves in that game. Springs outshot Waupun 48-14 and won 2-1. That's why Waupun was so unhappy with their 3-0 loss to Fox Cities in the next round. They're like, we just played the best team in Division 2, 2-1. We should do better than that.
Bill Jr., we got the top 6s. Everybody's listened all the way through this podcast and wants to know where their teams are in the top 6s, D1, D2, and girls. And I know with your abacus and everything else that you have, you tabulated the votes, and it's votes that count. And the results were?
Well, just because we had Chase Blackmun here tonight, we're going to put Hudson at number 1 in Division 1. I don't know that they've earned it, but they're unanimous number 1 in Division 1. Eau Claire Memorial is still second. Madison Edgewood moves up to third. They're slowly creeping up. Notre Dame Academy moves back to fourth. Eau Claire North drops down to fifth. They were third last week. They got destroyed by Eau Claire Memorial last week. Spash was not ranked last week. They jump into the 6th spot, and Nina Hortonville Menasha drops out. D2 is exactly the same as it was last week. St. Mary Springs, Rice Lake, Baldwin, Woodville, New Richmond, Amory, and Somerset. Little movement in the girls. The top 4 are the same: Bay Area, Fox Cities, Central Wisconsin and Madison Metro. Western Wisconsin Stars move into the 5th spot, and the Onalaska girls drop down to the 6th spot. So St. Croix Valley fell out of the top 6 in the girls this week, despite being the number 1 seed in their section.
What do we
That
got
Western-
coming up for? Go ahead.
Like I said, this, despite being the number 1 seed in their section, that Western Wisconsin's also in.
What do we got coming up for games of the week this week?
Tuesday, Dell is going to be watching the St. Croix Valley Fusion and the Chippewa Falls Menominee Sabres. He'll be heading over for that one. And on Saturday, Bergler and I will be going up to Minocqua for the Great Northern Conference Tournament all day. You're on mute again.
Who?
Yeah, they only have one rink in Minocqua, so they can't play 2 games at the same time like they did at Community First. So we'll be up there from dawn till dusk, freezing our tuchuses off.
So does that mean Grandma's got the kids?
Grandma's leaving me. She's not going to be around. Grandma Auntie Kathy, he'll have the kids.
And my sister will have the kids instead.
Guys,
Our fun-
I was just going to say this year, I think we've had a lot of goalies that have made our player of the week. I think more so than over the, in one season and everything. But I think a lot of it is we've gotten some pretty good goaltender being going on the boys' side this year. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is we talked about Logan Abrick earlier in this year and stuff, playing up there for Hayward. Well, this weekend on Friday night, RWD actually traveled up there to play Hayward. That game ended up in a 2-1 game. Both goalies ended up with a 947 save percentage in that game. Cooper Oakes stopped 18 of 19 shots, while Abrick stopped 36 of 38. You look at the two of them this year, Oakes is sitting there 17-6 with 1,175 minutes inside the net, and Abrick's got 1,130. And Abrick's sitting there with a 2.21 goals against average, so he doesn't quite make the top 10 and are on that side for that, but he's leading with save percentage at 939. And then you got Oakes sitting there at 1.95, just sits outside the top 10 on the goals against, and sitting there with a 929. I'm going, and those are two that are right around sitting up there in our top 10 and probably right up in the top 5 in minutes played this year. But, so I happened to look at that one this week just kind of trying to see what was going on and stuff, comparing some things, when we're starting to come to the end of the year, and end of the year awards are coming around and stuff. So, but I thought that, we've seen some exceptional goaltending this season.
No, Janesville comes up and plays RWD tomorrow night in Reedsburg. So the fellas down here are going to get a chance to check out the talented RWD goalie up close and personal.
Tell them to dress warm.
Yeah. I've been in that rink, Del. I know how cold it gets in there, and it gets extremely cold. Our final thoughts for today, this show. Who wants to jump on these tonight? All right, I'll jump on the first one. State tournament donations. Hey, everybody, we're still looking for them. WIPH has been bringing you the best high school hockey coverage in the state for many, many years. And with the things that have went on in the world, our advertising dollar hasn't been there this year. So to go to state, it costs quite a considerable amount of money to cover that and give you the best coverage at state. Asking for a little help. So if you go on the front page, see a little tab there. It says donate to WIPH. I believe, Junior, it's the upper right-hand corner, right?
Yes, sir.
It is. Okay. It's right up there, and that'll give you the instructions of how you can donate. And I'll tell you, we would sure appreciate the help because this costs quite a bit of money to do to cover the state tournament. And if we could get a little help, we'd sure appreciate it, and keep continuing to do what we do best and bring you the best of high school hockey coverage. Also, I'll take the other one as well. Tournament brackets are out. Yes, they are. They're on our site, and you can go check them out and see who's playing where and when against who. Also, next week is that we're going to do the tournament previews just in time before the tournament starts on Tuesday. Monday, we will do the tournament previews. So looking forward to that, and listen up next week during our show. We'll tell you about the upcoming tournament, guys. It seems like we just started the season, but here we are already talking about playoffs. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the whole thing right now. Just a couple of surprises from the immediate area that caught. All right, Stevens Point, has made it into the top 6 now. But they're seated 5th, and Wausau West is ahead of them in that section. And in Division 2, Division 2 generally is the Great Northern Conference. And in the Great Northern Conference tournament, Antigo was seated 4th and Wapaka was seated 5th. So Wapaka had to go to Antigo to play. And they beat them in Antigo. And now in the sectional finals, Antigo is again 4th and Wapaka is 5th. So Wapaka again has to go to Antigo to play them, even though they just beat them, 2 weeks ago in the same venue. So there's just a couple of things that caught my eye. But then, like I said, there's probably because Antigo said, we really don't want to go and play in that Tin Canyon in Wapaka. You ever been in that rink?
I have not.
Oh, it's worse than the Green Heck thing, where it's just all aluminum, and it just everything in there just reverberates. So it's like the Tin Canyon. It just you echo all over the place.
The house that Brad Navin built. There's an old name from the past from about 10 years ago. Brad Navin.
Yes.
We prefer Nick
Navin.
Tony's.
Okay.
That's even older.
Well, guys, got anything else we want to cover here?
If Spash wanted to be ranked ahead of West in the sectional seeding, they shouldn't have lost to them earlier in the season.
That's kind of why we want to go see the game tomorrow night, to see if there's any
animosity.
Yeah, that.
Okay. All right, guys. If you guys are all out of stuff, we'll meet back here next week and go over the state tournament stuff that's come out, and we'll talk a little bit about each sectional, and we'll bring it to you right here on WIPH. So for Dell, William, and Bill Berg, I'm Mike Hammett. We'll catch you next week. Once again, thanks to Chase Blackmun for joining us. Great interview. And we'll talk to you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.